The Australian Christian Lobby is launching a campaign targeting Liberal MPs who cross the floor to help defeat the government's Religious Discrimination Bill. Many of those are in key marginal seats. They include Bridget Archer in Bass, Fiona Martin in Reid, Dave Sharma in Wentworth, Trent Zimmerman, North Sydney, Katie Allen in Higgins. The group accused these MPs of endangering the ability of faith-based schools to teach in accordance with their faith. Let's bring in Martyn Iles. He's Managing Director of the Australian Christian Lobby, the ACL. Martyn, thanks for joining us. First of all, what's your issue with the way these individuals voted in the Parliament?
Well, what they did was they refused to vote to protect people of faith from discrimination, which I would have thought is a fairly basic liberal value, religious freedom, non-discrimination. And they also, some of them, tried to hijack the Religious Discrimination Bill by adding amendments to the Sex Discrimination Act, which would have deleted laws which Christian schools really rely on to employ staff and to operate and to teach in accordance with their ethos. And so we really see that as a bit of an ideological cancer going on within the Liberal Party. It's not shrinking, it's growing, and so somebody has to draw attention to it and call it out and see that it doesn't happen in the future, and so we're launching a campaign.
They would argue that they were seeking to protect school kids from discrimination.
Well, they would argue that. To be frank, it's a bit of a disinformation campaign. There's no Christian schools out there who expel kids because of their gender identity or because of their sexual orientation. I've checked, I've talked to them, they have no interest. And in fact, we're open to an amendment to the Sex Discrimination Act which removes that misunderstanding, but that's not what they were doing. They wanted to delete the whole section, and that section has enormous implications for the way schools teach, the way they employ staff. In fact, it enables them to operate according to their faith.
When you look at, you said you've spoken to schools, but the City Point Christian College is an example that people refer to. A statement of faith contract that had to be signed. Do you think a school should be able to make people sign a contract that basically equated pedophilia to homosexuality?
Well, no, not necessarily. That was the real issue, I think, in the City Point contract was that people were upset that the school had a contract that said, look, we're going to treat boys as boys and girls as girls because that's the way the school operates. And they have to do that because if they don't spell out their beliefs on those things, then it opens them up to lawsuits.
But in the agreement it says, we believe that any form of sexual immorality, including but not limited to adultery, homosexual acts, incest, pedophilia, is sinful and offensive to God. So they're basically equated one with the other.
Well, they haven't equated one with the other. What they've said is that they have views on sexuality. They've said they've got views on gender identity. I might not use those words, but they haven't equated them. They've actually listed a whole bunch of things that perhaps shouldn't be in the same bucket, but nonetheless, they're saying we have views on these things. And if a Christian school cannot have a view on what is good sexuality, if they can't have a view on what is good gender identity, if they can't have a view on creation and how human beings are made, then they can't actually be a Christian school. They need to be able to teach in accordance with their ethos, and parents will vote for their feet.
But if you're requiring people to sign a contract along those lines, don't you then open the door to those schools being able to kick kids out on the basis of the fact that they're gay?
No Christian school wants to do that. I can tell you that absolutely 100%. They're not going to do that. But what they want to be able to do is teach their values. And here's the reality, Kieran. This campaign is not about that. We're happy to make amendments to the law that actually deal with that misunderstanding. But the question for us is, can we allow the moderates in the Liberal Party to continue to be the ideological cancer, to drift the Liberal Party to the left, to not even vote to protect people of faith from discrimination, which is madness, to also try and delete more laws than just that one to protect faith-based schools. And I go to the Liberal Party and they say to me, oh, well, who else are you going to vote for? And that confirms
That's a fair question though, isn't it? Because if you help to knock off Sharma, Archer, Zimmerman, Martin, these individuals, you end up with a Labor government. Are they going to be any more helpful to your
Kieran,
cause?
it's a big call. It's a big call, but it's a long-term thing. When I was told that by people in the Liberal Party, who else are you going to vote for? It just confirmed for me that we need to break the circuit. We just have to. And if that means some short-term pain for some long-term gain, in order to stop this drift in the Liberal Party and in the Labor Party, to be honest, by raising these issues in election campaigns. Parents vote with their feet when they choose Christian schools. People of faith, they can't understand why you wouldn't vote in favour of protecting them from discrimination. These are pretty basic things. And so if it means calling that out for some short-term pain to get long-term gain, no problem. And
what do you say to those who would argue this has been, a solution to a problem that doesn't exist, because people are allowed to believe what they want?
Oh goodness me, I'd say
teach what they want at school and so on.
Oh, I'd say come and live in our shoes for a while. I mean, we have an entire law firm which is dedicated to taking up legal cases where people have gotten in trouble with the law for living out their faith. And they're busy, let me tell you. They get calls all the time. This isn't the sort of thing that gets out there in the public eye, that people are getting fired from jobs, they're getting disciplined by professional bodies, they're getting sacked from schools, they're getting all sorts of things going on because of their faith. There is a real discrimination problem there. We're not making this up. I have no interest in laws that aren't necessary. I have no interest in laws that don't connect with any form of reality. But people of faith and in faith communities know this. They know that this is real. And that's why they're concerned about the issue, and it could shift to marginal.
Martyn Iles, Managing Director of the Australian Christian Lobby, appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kieran.